What does it take to make the cheapest set of grinding stones? Now, I won't say precision grinding stones because I don't think these will be precision. I have a very inexpensive sharpening stone from Harbor Freight. I've got some hinges that I've worked to help me hold this down onto the surface grinder. I have a grinding wheel, and then I do have a diamond cutting blade, which at the end of this, I will cut this in half and have two mini stones. Now, this is an experiment, so let's be safe about it, but let's see how well it works. I'm curious to see who wins the battle on the surface grinder, the stone or the wheel. I do think this wheel's on the harder range of wheels, so we'll see what it can do to the stone. Over on the surface plate, the first thing I'm going to check for is flatness, and you can see this guy is rocking pretty good. Not as easy to notice on the back side, but it is, it's rocking a little bit, and then kind of giving it the wiggle test. Actually looks okay. Kind of pivoting at that 1/3 mark. So I've spent quite a bit of time on this one side. And you can see this is where it's a bit drier. So it's got this glazing happening where there's not as much water. And then it's got a real big drop off here at the end that it's going to take a while to get to that. So for right now, I'm going to work on the other side, see how flat that is. Well, that side came out much better. It started off with a high spot in the middle and then worked its way out. That looks really nice and flat. Let's head back to this side and see what we can do. So I'm wondering how well the audio sounds here. You know, we've gone over this fine side a lot. And, you know, at this point, I'm not sure if, because it's a fine grit stone, if it's sort of, if you will, winning the battle against the stone wheel. And so what's happening is it's just not cutting down any deeper. And I think maybe I'm just wearing away the wheel every time I lower it down. So I'm just going to let this sort of spark out for another few minutes and take a look at it. The back side, the coarser side, came out really nice the first time. I do look forward to cutting this guy in half and listening to that sound to see how well it sounds. This hydraulic surface grinder is great. You can do manual if you need to, or swap it over like this, and this is like the DJ station, just kind of turning the tables. Yeah, this fine side, I think I didn't have the best stone for this, or the grinding wheel, and of course, diamond would be the best. Just couldn't get that edge there, and basically I gave up because this side here came out real nice, and I didn't feel like we needed to go any further. So we're going to cut this in half, make 2 mini stones, and we'll see how they sound, see how they feel. But before we do that, let's take this over to the surface plate and see how flat it is. All right, over here at the surface plate, we're going to check a couple of things versus that first test that we did. One is it flat? Ooh, I feel like I'm getting ever so slightly a teeny bit of rock there I can feel. And I don't like doing this on the granite. I know the granite's harder, but I'm going kind of easy. All right, that side's definitely flat. Really hard to tell. So there we go. Let's again cut it in half. Let's see how it sounds when they're rubbing against one another. So I used the skill saw with a diamond blade on it. Some things are better not shown on YouTube. It was very soft, this material. which, you know, pretty cheap. So let's see how our experiment goes and how they sound. All right, the moment of truth. This is my favorite side here, the more coarse side. These actually sound pretty good. So by comparison, I'm going to rub the edges. The edges we've done nothing to, and let's hear what those sound like. So very gritty. And then let's come back to let's get that little bit of that zing, zing, zing sound in it. All right, now let's try the side I didn't like as much, the fine side. Let's see how that sounds. Actually feels pretty good and sounds okay too. All right, well, the true test will be how do they hold up on trying to get nicks off of some metal parts and pieces. Okay, so these little guys, they sound good. Let's give them a little test on some actual metal and see what that sounds like. So let's see. You can feel it. Just take a couple of those little edges off. There's a little bit of a high spot down here, little one up there. You know, if these are working right, they're not damaging the kind of primary surface. And so far that looks to be okay, you know, on that piece. This has got so much rust on it, I'm not gonna rub it on there. But what I do have is I have this part which, yeah, that goes to a Kurt vise. And this will be my next video on how I restore that vise and make it look as good as new. But knowing that I had to do that project, I wanted to do this project with the stones. So consider subscribing to my channel, hit the notifications button, and you will be notified when that video comes out, and which is the project I'll be working on next. But let's see how these stones work. This is one of the jaws. And you can, it feels really good. You can kind of feel it taking off those high spots and any nicks that there might be. You can see ever so slightly little bits of where it's been accumulating that. Give these a little wipe down. Lots of high spots on here. Tell a little story about that in my next video as to what I did there. All right, well, I tell you what, for what these are, which are definitely hobby grade stones, I am really happy with how they came out. You know, there's Rob's video, there's Lance's video, where, you know, they go through how they make these stones, and I was definitely inspired by that activity to make these, and I 100% appreciate what those guys are making and the quality of that tool that they're making. This is not that, but if you want something that's, you know, pretty inexpensive and just to kind of get you by until, you know, you get to that point where precision ground stones are right for you, then, you know, this might be a nice alternative. We'll see as I put it to use across my shop how well they work, and you know, we'll take it from there. If I were to make a version 2 of these, I'd probably buy the Norton India Stone on Amazon. It's like 30 bucks. This one I had just laying around, so I thought I'd practice on it. So not a bad practice. But that's it. So again, until next time, I really, I do appreciate everyone watching the videos, and good luck in your machine shop. Hope your projects go well, and we'll talk to you later.